Welcome to an all-new episode of Work in Progress with John Lane and Will Barfield. This podcast explores leadership traits under stress with a special guest each week. We use a simple and accurate OAD assessment to identify key personality traits or superpowers, as well as the shadow side, kryptonite traits that appear when we're under stress. As always, we'll have some pod banter, shameless plugging, and we'll even let our guests talk for a bit. Of course, no humble brags. Welcome to the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another special episode of Work in Progress with John Lane and Will Barfield. Well, I think they're all special. They're like our kids.
I agree. All your children are special.
Now, you were telling me the other day that one of them is more special than the other. Can you remind me which one that was?
Which one of my children?
Yes.
Whichever one's watching. That's my favorite. Thanks for supporting Daddy.
Oh, man. All right. I got some updates. Let me do this. Fixing the camera. You can tell I prepared. See this?
What's
Not my
that?
belly.
Well, you got a pin. Is that your leadership
That is my
Raleigh
leadership
pin?
triangle pin. I graduated.
There's a triangle.
I don't know, a week and a half ago. And I was having lunch with the executive director, and I thought I'd wear it. So that was kind of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a great program, but everybody wants to go through it. And then, Will, I declared this. So multiple times on our blooper segment, you opened by saying that you're working on being not being too much focused and ramrodding over Amy and other family members, et cetera.
Sure.
And I remember we did one that was your New Year's resolution, and you're working on that.
Yeah.
And then I think there's about 20 others since then that you're still working on that.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up for a reason, and that is I declared a number of pods ago that I am doing too much networking and I'm too busy for it. That's happened again. And I even already wrote a LinkedIn post that on Friday, I am declaring no more networking for me, at least through the end of the year.
Wait, is this something you can actually adhere to? Like, does this have a prayer of actually happening, Will? Is this going to happen, or is this I'm not going to breathe?
I have been fortunate to be asked to do several speaking events on top of the other stuff that we do. And I see them piling up on my calendar, humble brag, but I'm not making any time to do the work. And so it's all falling into my weekend. And I want to do that. So anyway, we'll see how well I do that. What did you bring to discuss?
Look at that.
Exactly.
What did I bring to discuss?
Yeah. Anything?
How about my shirt? Can you see what my shirt says?
Bourbon. Oh, that's from your bourbon tour.
Yeah. I wore my Evan Williams shirt today. I wasn't see if anybody noticed.
Nice.
That's your drinking and driving shirt, right? Don't drink and drive.
Usually I drink and ride.
Better. Smart.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's what I have in my coffee cup today is Evan Williams.
No, I
Maybe
don't.
they're a sponsor.
Well, if you're a sponsor, then you'd have to. But
Yeah.
They're not a sponsor, so you don't. So it's a choice.
So there's a window. So what Will's saying is there's a window of clarity on this episode.
Yeah, and then
it's declining as we go.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
As most episodes go. I'm John Lane.
I'm Will Barfield.
And we are
A work in progress. Clearly.
Good to see everybody. We have another confusing episode. Well, they're all confusing in their own ways, but we have a Will-Bill combo. And, let's go through it, Will. How do we know our guest is special?
Because the slide says so.
And what do we know about slides?
Slides don't lie.
Exactly.
Even if the information on the slide is false, you must believe it because 100%. It's on the slide.
That's the rule. That's the rule. Bill Gates did not invent PowerPoint. I don't know if he invented PowerPoint. For us to say that they aren't truthful. Bill, can I ask you a question to start?
Sir, but that's why I'm here. I am here to be questioned.
Are you going to win this podcast, or are you going to dominate it?
I'm going to dominate this podcast.
Yes,
I'll be over with winning. Let's just go right on to crushing it all.
Introduce yourself and that extremely brash LinkedIn profile.
So first off, I'm irrelevant, but for the case of getting the podcast going, Bill Harper, I have owned 5 advertising agencies, all of them focused on helping businesses figure out what story to tell so that they can scale. So at the end of the day, that's the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning. And the line that we have crafted to try and quickly get that across to people who happen to come in contact with my LinkedIn is that we help multi-million-dollar businesses realize their billion-dollar aspirations with strategic storytelling.
That's storytelling right there. I love it.
Yep, right off the bat.
I love it. That's great. Well, welcome. It's lovely to see you. You and Will go back quite a while, I think, right?
We do. Will helped us place some people along the way. So Will and I know each other quite well.
Awesome.
Bill's great people. Met him through the chamber, actually.
That's right. Chamber folk.
Let's be clear. Chamber of Commerce.
Better than chamber pot.
The Greater Raleigh Chamber of Commerce, yes.
That's correct.
The chamber has a lot of meanings these days. We just want to be clear.
Okay. Well, I tried to crystallize that for you.
You did. You tried. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Great. So, Will, what do we talk about?
Leadership traits under stress.
And where do we get those leadership traits?
We get those through the OAD tool, which is an amazing survey. Unlocks and defines unique superpowers.
It does.
Highly accurate, extremely easy to administer, eliminates social desirability distortions that you can get from other assessments, and is built to the standards of leading international psychological institutions and rating agencies. You can see those logos all across the bottom there. That means that it's scientifically validated and you can trust the data.
That's true. You're getting better and better at this. Yeah. You're getting better and better at this slide.
If you took the words off that slide, I'd be screwed. I'll tell you that right now.
I'm going to do that.
Remember, is that because it's on the slide?
Blank this out, and I'm going to see if you can do it.
Bring it.
Bring it.
And you see where the show goes after that.
That's true. All right. So as we get going, we always introduce the OAD Leadership Style Matrix. It's a nice way to prep the process. In our world, folks are generalists or specialists. We call that substance. We look at their communication style or simply their style. They're socially oriented or technically oriented. I am a socially oriented generalist in the builder quadrant, negotiator. Our partner and friend, Will, is...
I'm a technically oriented generalist. So I'm up there with you, but I'm on the technical side. I'm an architect developer profile.
Exactly. And like most of our guests, I could just leave this slide in, I think.
Pretty much. Brand
boss Bill Harper is a socially oriented generalist in the builder quadrant. However, he is not a negotiator, he is a Pathfinder. And let's show what that looks like. You are a classic Pathfinder. The Pathfinder is defined like all the builders. The A and the D are to the right. A and the E are to the right of the E, so that puts you in the upper right. But we have our friend the hookback D, and that hookback D tells us that unlike our negotiator friends that are way down here, if something is important to you, you're going to be on the case. But then anything else, you're going to be quite comfortable to delegate or to deprioritize. So that's you. We know you to have the higher assertiveness, which puts you in the generalist side. That makes you venturesome, risk taker, flexible work style. A guy who started 5 agencies. That's a pretty good profile for that. On the E side, that is your extroverted side. That makes you more socially oriented, open, warm, amiable, quick to trust, optimistic, very much like me. And then I love this. The P and the A are the largest spread. You are an impatient guy.
No. See, now that's not true.
That's true. But you're also comfortable with change.
You're going to get to a point here soon, right?
Well, we're talking. Actually, we have to start over. Will is supposed to ask a question. I blame you for not wedging.
You had to start the whole show over, do we?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
No.
Bill's patience won't
I'll never make it.
lack of patience.
Never make it. I'll
The
never
question here, Bill, that I was supposed to ask you was how it feels to be reduced to a two-dimensional data table.
All I saw here was the scythe that I used to cut through my new path. That's what I saw with that hook. No,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all, and it's completely accurate. I mean, I think if it was inaccurate, I think I would have an issue with the way that it simplifies the complexity of who we are as people, right? But at the end of the day, being able to know that these things are true about someone is incredibly helpful to the rest of the organization, because they'll say, oh, it's not that he's just choosing to be an impatient jackass. He's actually wired that way. And so we understand that when we present to him, hey, maybe we should try to keep it a little more top line, unless he shows that he's hyper interested in something, at which point in time we can open up the floodgate of detail, because we know he'll follow us down the path. So I think that these things are actually quite helpful if they are not overcomplicated, because I think if you get the sense of who a person is in this simple form, it can actually make communication with the team a whole lot better.
Yeah, you just pretty much wrote all of our workshops. Thank you for that.
No worries.
What I haven't built this slide yet, but it's built in my mind, which is we're not a dartboard trying to hit a specific number with perfection. We get pretty darn close, but that isn't the point. The point is, when you and the team have all taken it, it's building a common framework, a common language, and a common experience through which you communicate better by understanding that about each other. So that's
well, if people had labels that were on them, right, and it said patient, impatient, and it was like to the left.
Yeah.
If it was, if we had some kind of, I don't know, identifier that preceded us, then it would be easy, right? You walk in the room and you're like, oh, okay, he's not going to have patience for detail. He's more visionary, or he's more, detail oriented. He's whatever. It would give us such a tremendous advantage, because you would know who you were sitting across the table from. But as we are all, and especially men, not to be overly sexist, fabulous communicators on every level. Note the sarcasm.
We don't need this.
I think without this, everybody is left to try to decipher, was it just the mood? Was it just the day? Or is this actually a part of the makeup of the person I'm sitting across the table from?
All of that is true. And I think if I can sum up, you are recommending face tattoos with the leadership style quadrant on it. Did I hear that right?
Pretty much accurate. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Good.
I'm not on board with that.
Will?
No graffiti on the temple.
Oh, come on. Where's your sense of adventure?
Yeah. Will?
Yeah.
Don't ruin our vibe. Bill and I are jiving here. You're bringing us down, man.
This is not a them or us scenario. Will, you're invited. You're included, even if you don't have face tattoos. It's all
good. The thing above me has my name on it, so I'm going to stay.
That's
true. Yeah.
So, Bill, this is a readout that is auto-generated by the system. Someone who lands in this builder Pathfinder profile is going to see some content similar to what you've got here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not spend too much time on this. This isn't what you penned for us, but is there one of these in the superpower section that you feel is really accurate, that you perceive or the others have shared with you as part of your DNA?
I see 1 and 3 as being a combination of things, which is the persuasive and assertive is a result of the energetic and enthusiastic communication. I mean, I think the risk thing is a separate entity in and of itself, but I see those two as being related. It is one of the things that I've heard people say about me is, when I am presenting, it is easy for me to turn a room, and everybody who knows me well knows that my favorite room to go into is a room of disbelievers. There's nothing I love more than a room of people that don't think that I know what I'm talking about. I love turning that room. That is the favorite room to be in the world. So that skill set of that particular type of edutainment theater that helps people understand the path but is also enjoyable enough to watch is phenomenal. So yeah, I think of the group that persuasive and assertive by way of this type of communication is probably the one that is pegged hardest.
Love it.
Fantastic. How about on this side, Kryptonite?
Every single one of them is 100%. Which one would you like me to unpack today?
You pick.
I think impatience and low tolerance for routine is probably the thing in particular. I have there's a certain objectivity that comes from builders, I think. Some people refer to it as seeing around corners. Some people prefer to talk about it as having a 30,000 foot view as opposed to an on the ground view or whatever. But because I see the world that I do, it bends space time in expectation set, which can be incredibly negatively impactful on teams if I'm not careful. Mm-hmm. Steve Jobs was famous for this, right? He saw the path, he saw the outcome, and he was like, why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long should probably be tattooed on my person. The one that I use all the time, just because, I don't know, it's stuck with me. If you've ever seen the movie Amadeus, and Mozart is in the bed and he's sick, and what's his name is down at the end of the bed and he's writing the notes, and he goes, the notes are up here. Do you have it? Do you have it? My thing is, do you have it? Like, I see the picture. I'm trying to relay the picture. Do you have it yet? Do you have it yet? And he's like, you're going too fast. You're going too fast. It's with this note, like follow the the percussion, follow this, follow that. And to him, it makes perfect sense because in his head, that harmony simply is as it is in its completion in his head already. Yeah. And then for other people to be able to pick up the thread and then see the depth of the picture is not always easy to communicate. And oftentimes you think you've communicated it only to find that you haven't. Right. So, or you've only communicated a portion of it. So I think of all of them, I would be pegged most with impatience, not because I am against routine, but because I'm trying to be able to move forward faster than real world adoption and adaptation will allow.
Hey, Will, has anyone else on our podcast compared themselves to Amadeus?
Not yet. That's a first.
Okay, good.
That's it. I own Amadeus.
Maybe your archivist will remember this one on this day, on his birthday.
That's right.
It's his birthday. He gets, a wide berth of what he wants.
You get to declare you get to compare yourself favorably to Amadeus.
Listen. I'm not trying to say I'm Picasso. I'm trying to say I had some of the same negative traits as Picasso. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Let's be very clear here. Impatient like, not talented as.
Okay. Well, we'll give you that.
Speaking of talents, superpowers, Bill, you looked at the results and went through the materials with John and commented back and chose to put these things down. Walk us through these bullets, please. And I may throw a question in there or I may save something for the next slide.
Yeah. So I think the one at the beginning was excited at the outset, but doesn't always overcome the fear of the rest of the team or results in adoption. And what I think that is kind of a build on what we were saying before. I get excited about the new idea, as most people kind of in my position do. And then as I share it, I'm on to the next iteration of that or build on that or what have you, and not always with the backing of the rest of the team or the understanding of the rest of the team to get there. So sometimes I see opportunity earlier than I should do it. The balance, the quid pro quo with my team is I'm allowed to call what destination I want to arrive at. That horrible English. My team is allowed to tell me how to get there. So if you're an EOS traction person, this is sort of the relationship agreement that's there, is you don't get to, say what destination you want and then drive the boat. That's not fair. What you have to do instead is say, what I really want to achieve is X. And then you have to stand back and let the team figure out the way to get there. That's hard to do.
Yeah, I learned that.
It's difficult.
I learned that in my early agency career. Someone says what, and then I'll say how and when. Right. Yeah. So you just have to. If somebody owns all of it, then you're the pharaoh, and
Yeah, dictator is
Doesn't work out
probably
that
a
well.
closer to accurate word in my
Yeah.
estimation. But if that's how it feels to the rest of the team, right? It's like, okay, I want to go there, and here's how you get there. Stupid is how it comes across. So it's like, okay, we got to back it off. It's enough to say I want to get there. Then everybody else gets to show their superpowers by showing how we choose to achieve that goal. So that's one that I am forever working on. I am comfortable with risk. Not everybody else is. I was born that way. I just have a callus where risk is concerned. I don't worry about things. I just don't. I live in a perpetual state of what if instead of what is, and that can also have devastation in its wake if you're not careful. So I have to be very cautious about well, I wasn't there when the rule was made and I'm going to change the rule, so let's go forward, right? That's an easy mentality to have, but it also leaves burn marks on folks around you if you're not careful with it. And then energetic and enthusiastic communicator can also mean grandstander, right? The Bill show is a positive for the team in the sense that when I take center stage, they know that I'm going to catch the attention and be able to excite the team that's there. But I've got to really keep it short, because if I don't, it's going to come off as grandstanding. And so the rest of the team has to be given an opportunity to shine as well. And that's kind of the quid pro quo there, right? It's like, on the one hand, hey, we've got some concern, confusion, whatever over a subject. Bill, can you come in and reestablish the excitement? Can you explain through the problem in a way that they can get and understand and feel comfortable and safe again? Yes. Okay, now you've done your job. Now shut up and go back and sit on the sidelines so that the rest of us can get back to doing our job.
Love that.
Before we leave the slide, John, please, Bill, like you mentioned earlier, 5 agencies. You've been leading people for a long time. You've hired and onboarded and trained. When you have some self-recognition here, even before this 080 exercise, you knew many of these things about yourself anyway, and you've always been self-analytical. How have you used these superpowers and understanding of these superpowers to make sure that new team members, when they come on board, understand who Bill is and how he operates, and aren't blown away or shocked or don't struggle to figure out how to interact with you?
Actually, I still don't do that well. Let's say that. I don't do that well. Fortunately for me, the people around me who are in management understand my makeup well enough now to help me with that journey. So I would like to say, you made a polite assumption that I have hired and trained and led people. The truth of the matter is that I have hired them, and I have told them what I expect of them, and I have patted them on the head and given Scooby snacks when they've done well. I would not say that I have been a good leader. I would not say that I have been a good trainer. I have, for a lot of my career, been much more what I think is the standard: move over and let me show you how to do that, which is, of course, insanely detrimental to everybody. So it wasn't until about maybe 5 or 6 years ago that it really sunk in for me, right? 50, you finally have been around the block long enough. You're like, oh, wait a second. When I bang my head into the wall, the head bleeds. Okay, don't do that anymore. Where enough self-recognition finally seeped through the cinder block, and enough support was available through the rest of the team that they could say, we need to work on this. I need you to slow down and talk about it this way. So-and-so is having a challenge. Can you find some time to sit down and explain it to them? And while they may say that this is what's bothering them, what they really need is this explanation about what you expect or how you behave or how you interpret data. Without those people and without that length of time, I think, like so many other people who find themselves in a leadership position, the term leader really did not apply, nor was it appropriate to give to me. I happened to start the company. I happened to hire people. I happened to put them in place. That did not mean that I was a leader. It meant that I happened to create an environment in which people could exist. There's a massive distinction between those two things, and I think it happens in business more than it doesn't.
That's a great segue to thank you, by the way. Great segue to the kryptonite slide, right? Which is when things are tough or challenging or hard or stressful, our superpowers can become kryptonite weaknesses. Talk to us about these 3 bullets.
Well, yeah. So the Bill show can be, if it's not careful, it's, I'm the owner of the company. If I get on a roll, it takes a really strong employee who's very comfortable with me to interrupt me, right? So,
I didn't all show. I emphasize with that.
You just did. Congratulations.
You know how to hurt a guy. So
on his birthday, even.
Thank you. So that's certainly an issue that needs to be taken into account. I have to slow myself down on the impatience and low tolerance thing, because by the time I've said something to somebody about the path that I see, I've already taken the time to think it through. And so the path becomes logical to me, but it's brand new to them and they haven't made the journey from point A to point B yet. So I need to pull that back, or it will come across as me whipping without any reason, right? Like mush, and there's no reason for it. And they don't know where I'm trying to get them to go to, which causes one of 2 things: either movement that achieves nothing, or silence and lack of movement because they don't know what I'm asking for. Yep. So I've got to stop both of those. And then resistance to structured environments is basically me staying in my lane and doing the things that are within the process that have been developed by the rest of the team, so that I'm playing my part effectively. And that part, I'm proud to say, I've gotten much better about. So I think each of these is constantly a work in progress. And hopefully I'm making some good work on those.
Yeah, work in progress. That's why we're here.
That's it.
So, this is probably not the first time you've taken an assessment and looked at yourself and examined Bill. One of the reasons that we love doing this podcast is because we get leaders on here who are willing to be vulnerable and go through that exercise of self-analysis. Some of the stuff is old hat, maybe some of it's new, or at least, it's reinforcing things that you need to work on. How do you take this exercise of working with John and then be on the show with us today and apply some of what you've gathered here to help you be a better leader, whether it's at work or in any other setting?
So I think it's 2 things. The first is reinforcement of what is true, right? This continues to say, don't forget this about yourself. And I think that's incredibly valuable. The second is in being reminded that you're not alone in the journey. There are other people that are suffering the same thing with you. So, the strain that you feel about knowing that you are not doing something the way that you hope you would, or that having the impact that you do, is lessened a little bit, which is nice. It lets you apply your energy in the right place rather than over stressing about it. So those are just a couple of places. And then I think the last is that it ensures that it stays simple. It doesn't become overly complicated. Impatience is an easy construct. So if you know that impatience is an issue, or that you're comfortable with risk, but other people aren't comfortable with risk, and you need to manage or work on that, that becomes a very simple thing to say, okay, can I bucket what just happened into one of the things that I know is an issue for me, and where can I apply some sort of appropriate support to try to rectify or better that situation in a nice, simple, and easy to understand way? I think, as Scotty said in one of the Star Trek shows, the more that they mess with the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain. So the idea of being overly complex just results in more ways to stop progress. So I love the simplicity of this.
Love it.
John, you want this slide or me?
I just say Bill told us in the green room that he's got someone, so he's a nominee. He knows how this goes.
I am throwing Brian Elliott of The Good Brain, my podcast partner, under the bus, because I think Brian would be a good guy to have on, and I think that he would be a great contributor to this. He also is in a senior leadership position. He's out in LA. I think he would be a phenomenal person to have on. He's comfortable with podcast development and the rest, so I think he'd be a nice, comfortable guest. And I think he would be open about his reading on it. So I'm going to connect with him and see if I can't get you guys connected.
That's awesome. Tell me his last name again.
Elliott.
Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
1 T or 2?
2.
Beautiful. After the show, I'll connect you with how we normally do that. But I really appreciate it. We haven't had too many on the West Coast, so that's
that'd be nice.
That's awesome. I can't believe it. We've been talking. It was literally on my birthday when your name came up to do that, and that's 5 months ago. So thank you for joining. Great guest. Enjoyed the Bill show for what it was. Thank you for bringing it. I'm John Lane.
I am Will Barfield.
We are, say it with us, a work
in progress.
Yes. Thanks, Bill. Awesome show.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Work in Progress is a podcast presentation of Slipshod Productions. Available on LinkedIn and YouTube. Executive produced and starring John Lane and Will Barfield. Talent booking, production, and editing by John Lane. Thanks for watching. See you next week.